Okay, hello, and welcome to the J Roundtable of Distortion Survivor Andromeda. And we are here with Caleb, Max, Landon, Megan, Trivia, Trevor, and probably some more people depending on the waiting room. But in the meantime, I want to thank Jacob for being our moderator this tonight for this season. And I hope that if you're watching this post, then to go support Spellbound Survivor. But in the meantime, I'm going to hand it off to Jacob, who's going to do his magic.
Thank you very much. I see what you did there. Spellbound magic. Anyways, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be the jury moderator. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jacob Adorno, finished in ninth place all the way back on Worlds, and that's season 2. So I've had nothing to do with Distortion in a very long time, but I've been a diligent watcher of the series, especially this season, and you've all put on a spectacular show. So it's an honor to be the jury moderator for this jury specifically. Tonight we're going to be talking about Rachel and Adam's game, their social game, the strategic game, our personal gripes with either of them, what questions we want to ask them, and just full disclosure, 2 points I want to bring up. One, my job here is to facilitate, is to observe and overlook the conversation. Aside from right now, this is the bulk of what I'm going to be saying. Aside from transitioning from one player to another, maybe moving on to the next point, you're not going to be hearing me all that much. It's up to you guys to continue to direct this conversation and to continue to be civil. While I'm aware that this is a game, I know it's not just a game. We forge and foster these personal relationships, emotions get in the way, our personal obligations and commitments get in the way, and high rising stakes. I understand that. And some of you have just recently been eliminated, so it's still raw for you. But we hope that we can all give the courtesy to the final 2 that we wish we would have had if we were in the final 2. So first, we're going to talk about just the social game. Who forged and built the most meaningful relationships? Who was the easiest to talk to? Who built the integral bonds that brought them here to this point? And anyone can start us off, but let's start with Rachel for this point. So what was the strengths in Rachel's social game?
Looks around.
I mean, I'd say that a strength to Rachel's social game is like she kind of knew who to stick with in a sense. Like she knew the people that were gonna take her farther and not vote her out each round. Yes, we all know that those happen to be a lot of her pre-existing relationships, but at the same time, they didn't vote her out. So I guess she used that to the smartest of her ability. Libby, stop.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I feel like her awareness at least was good. So points for that. She did have like a solid perception of I think like where people were at. I just don't think she did anything with it, but that's okay. The perception was there.
I think Rachel has an aura about her when she comes into games, and like everybody knows her name. So the second she was like, her picture popped up, I think everybody was like, "Oh, it's Rachel," and so I think that actually helps somebody in an org. And so she just like kind of knew who to stick with. Like I think somebody just said, look, she stuck with her friends, and it kind of worked out for her, or it did work out for her.
On that note, talking about Rachel's name, her reputation, so to speak, you see her on a cast and you see just, oh, it's Rachel Roth. Everyone knows who Rachel Roth is. Caleb has pointed out that there are some strengths to that. Do we think that there may have been some weaknesses, some traps she may have fallen in, that her reputation may have put her in danger and she needed her social game to help mitigate?
I'm gonna be honest, Rachel's reputation, I've known Rachel for years. I played her very first org with her. Um, and Rachel, in terms of social game, tends to do almost the same thing every time. In the sense of she sticks with what she knows. She will play with her friends and she will be loyal to her friends. Um, and it's worked out for her a lot, which I guess is weird to say because a lot of people say they don't like when people play with their friends, but the thing is like they are close friends to her to where it does work for her. And that's kind of where her reputation precedes her in a sense of like, but it's also a negative because if people know that, the people who know her know that she plays with friends, if you're not one of them, you're also kind of like, well, I won't get Rachel on my side. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think I could get Rachel to work with me because we've been like sometimes working together, sometimes not, and we're not super close. So it was one of those things where like I knew that like she would be closer with people like maybe Crispy or like Caleb R, you know. So I guess that's why her reputation kind of hinders her if people know that she tends to play that way.
I mean, I will say though, like even though like we got like because this was my second org and I've never played with her before. Like we had a kind of we wouldn't vote each other out type deal. Like, did I feel close with Rachel like on a personal level in the game? No, but she did branch out to people who are not connected in the community, which is a strength, I think, if that makes sense.
Meh,
Contribute. Oh, sorry. Caleb, you say what you want to say.
meh.
Meh.
Man,
Well, on that note, let's transition from Rachel to talking about Adam's social game or relationships he was able to forge, or our perceptions or impressions were of Adam at the beginning of this game.
Well,
I mean, Adam was
I
a complete people.
oh, go on, Megan.
Yeah. I was just gonna say he's the complete opposite of Rachel in that he didn't have any friends coming into this. He had to start from scratch, which doesn't happen often unless it's your first game.
Sorry, this is
yeah,
gonna be a lot cooler than it actually is. I actually can't see with the actual.
Oh,
for the fact that he had no connections, he did a really good job of connecting with people. Like even though it did seem like he had his hands in a lot of cookie jars, it still worked out for him. Like he's able to connect with people. Like he was able to manage to get through the game. Like even though his name is out there, he was able to pivot and a lot, which I think is pretty good, especially in the first org.
I can only speak from my experience. I talked to Adam quite a bit throughout the game, but a lot of it was more so like paranoia of like, oh my, like basically every conversation I had with him was he was scared he was going home, whether his name was out there or not. So it was a lot of trying to calm him down, calm his nerves and everything. Um, I've heard from other people that Adam hadn't talked to them for rounds on rounds. But I never experienced that. Um, so I never, and I don't know, he never really came to me like, it's gonna sound weird, but like, other than like leaking like plans, he never came to me and was like, I feel good with this person. I feel good with this person. He kind of just kept saying like, I feel good with you and I want to go to final two with you. Um, which probably wasn't the case once I got to three. But yeah.
Okay, I will say though that he did have a lot of final two deals. So on a jury management perspective, that's a lot of backstabbing and lies he'd have to do when he has to cut the final twos. Because he had a final two with me as well.
I don't blame Adam as much as maybe other people with many final two deals. I think because I feel like most of them were reciprocated. Once it got to a point, people did want to sit next to Adam in the end. So like I don't like feel hurt by him for not sticking to our final two deal. Whereas like I'm not hurt, but I'm just really confused as to like why he made the decision not to give me fire. And it could be social because like Adam and I talked a lot towards the end game, but he talked to Trevor a lot more. And I told him like vote Trevor. And I knew that trying to get the tie would only work if it was Rachel, but I figured she was immune. And I knew he wasn't voting for Trevor, you know, so like things like that. He would be like good, I think, with some people, but kind of always had like a favorite, I guess, in Trevor.
Yeah. And the thing to piggyback off that, the thing with me is the two times that Adam just kind of ghosted me for a while were the two times that he probably wasn't gonna work with me. So I like final five. And then like basically the whole he was busy on the final like 4-3 kind of day, but he it was like we were talking every day, and then the days that he was not going to vote with me or vote against me, he just didn't talk. So I don't know if others felt that way when they were voted out as well.
I am curious to hear this though, because we're talking about, just multiple different deals that Adam made. Is like, oh, I feel good with you. I want to take you to final two. How many of you were actually going to take them? If any of you were the winner of the final immunity challenge, you could pick from the whole cast. I'm going to take Adam to the end of the end gamers. We got a couple of hand raises right there. Trevor, you're
I
not.
determined that I wanted to go to the end with Adam around the Big Brother round. At that point, I said I want to go to final three with Adam and Yappy, and then when we found out it was final two, I wanted to go with him. So I was 100% going to take him.
I'll be
Again,
honest.
not necessarily because we were the best of friends, but because I thought I could win. So
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I felt like my best odds of winning at the end would have been at the final two with Adam. Not gonna lie, and like I'll be honest, I was heavily thinking like if it did end up in a scenario where like everyone knew I had the final two with Caleb, if it wasn't a situation with me, Caleb R, and Adam, I would have cut Caleb. I feel bad for saying this, but I would have cut Caleb R for Adam because I felt like I would have had a better shot. Which I feel bad for saying, but yeah.
Trevor, were you taking him?
If I had one final three, I would have just taken Rachel. Because I think Adam would have voted me anyway, and I think Rachel probably would have been mad at me and voted Adam. So I felt like that was a vote for me.
You're not wrong.
That's just how I saw it. I was like, I mean, if you want to vote Rachel, that's fine, but I don't think you would.
And I'm sorry to pivot from Adam, but I just have to make that really quick point in that Rachel does get upset when her friends vote her out. And so I guess that kind of relates to social game, maybe a little bit of strategic. She does do that like emotional manipulation thing, not malevolently, but like it works. So that's just a quick point. Like sometimes people will do things for Rachel because they're afraid of her getting upset at them. Sorry, back to Adam.
No, I think honestly that is a perfect segue point into the strategic elements of the game. Of course, in a game where the vote counts were not public, they were all in mystery, they were all dark. It was very hard to gauge round and round in if you were in on the know, aside from knowing who the vote was. Some applicable advantage may have been in play, some moves may have been made behind our backs, some numbers or some votes may have been scattered or just burnt along the way that we may never be able to account for until postseason to find out. So since though we started the social with Rachel, let's start the strategic portion with Adam. So Adam's strategic upsides, Adam's strategic downfalls, his strengths and his weaknesses.
I think the good thing about Adam's game is even if he wasn't in control, like I think that Adam was able to navigate things well. And I think he was aware of what his position was. Like Trevor called it paranoia, but the truth is that Adam was being left out a lot. And Adam, maybe he wasn't the target necessarily because people didn't view him as a threat, but he was being left out. And so I think Adam was aware of that. And he was able to position himself in a spot where like people wanted to take him to the end, like was said earlier. And not just that, but also I feel like Adam knew who actually like cared about him versus who was trying to like use him. Because when I look at Adam's votes, a lot of the time I wanted to give Adam more credit, like for being in control of stuff, just because I liked Adam and Adam was like working with me. Looking back on it, even though he wasn't in control in those votes, I think he was working with people that genuinely had his interests like more in heart versus people that like were just trying to use him as an extra number and drag him along as a goat. But even then, when his allies went home, he was still able to like find a way to survive and make it to the end. So that's like a positive, I'll say, for his strategic game.
I disagree a little bit, Landon. Only because at Final Five, when I called with Adam, it's kind of like when I spilled everything. Like he was asking me, like, when was my name out there, and like what was happening with this like alliance, that had done the Landon vote, and stuff. And I told him pretty much everything, and he could have been lying, but he was telling me I've very upset. Like I didn't know that everybody was using me this whole time. Like even with Trevor, like he was really upset with Trevor and Rachel for lying about the Final Five immunity, and not telling him about it. So unless he was like playing it up to me to be like, oh, poor me, like they were using me, I don't know if he fully knew who valued him the most or not. Um, Maybe in the earlier merge better, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like a good and a bad thing where Adam, like, because I would say things to Adam and then potentially I would vote that way, potentially I wouldn't, like in the landed vote, in the max vote. Actually, no, max vote, he did something different, but like sometimes we weren't on the same page. But no matter what happened, as long as it wasn't him, he would always, like, at least with me, come back to me and be like, okay, like what's our plan, like going forward. Like, he was able to reset, but it was also like he did not have his finger on the pulse, hand on the pulse, body on the pulse at all. Um,
Yeah.
so it's kind of it's tough. Like he's adaptable, but like it was sort of there's I didn't feel like there was a lot he did with that. And to me, he was like, and this isn't a bad thing. He was very much like, I don't ever want to say names after he likes, because of how the beginning of the merge worked. If you said a name, then like it's gonna be exploded and everyone's gonna go for you and stuff. So, um, yeah.
I
And
Yeah, I think the environment of the game hindered his ability to try to be more strategic because I mean, I was kind of the same in a way for a long time. I didn't say names till close to the end because of that fact.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of experience, you know. Um, I think I don't even know if I can really fault that to him, really, just because this game with the blackout everything and everyone getting in trouble when they tried to do anything. I don't really blame him because again, people didn't really value him as much as others. So if he did do all of that and they didn't like it, they would have just voted his ass out. So I mean, it's kind of like it was a hindrance outside of his control, but I think it was smart that he didn't try to say names as much.
I will, excuse me, sorry. I will say this too, because like I mean, like I try to look at both sides of the argument, like the pros and cons and everything. And something I do give Adam credit for is the amount of effort he has put. Like he has tried a lot of things. Like I've seen, for me, like I've seen a lot of effort, and that for me matters in the jury vote. Like even if things didn't go completely his way, he did put his heart into the game, and that's something I really do respect. And it's like he did take chances that could have led to him going home, but he is still there at the end of the day.
I agree. And if I can add on to like what Trevor and Megan were saying, and also probably like ask them a question, because if we're talking about like not giving out names and stuff like that, I mean, I don't think Adam did it a lot. Him being cagey was definitely like a common complaint, but he did push the AJ name very hard and was a big part of that. And if we're talking about Adam not giving names, in my experience with Rachel, every time I talked to her, it was, I'm just going to wait until the last 5 minutes when I get home from work, and then I'll do the last name I'm told. And maybe that's just what she told me. So I kind of want, like Megan and Trevor, since you guys worked with her a little bit closer, like I kind of was curious about your perspective. Did Rachel actually like come up with any plans, or was it really just like Trevor would get on in the last 5 minutes, tell Rachel what you were doing, and then Rachel would just do it?
There
Perfect
were
segue to Rachel. Love that.
Can I
Rich.
make a really quick comment about Adam there? I was gonna say, I think one good thing Adam did is he got AJ to stop wanting to vote for him at Final 12. He approached AJ and called her out and said, I heard you're targeting me. And then I heard that she went to OG Infinity and said, I don't want to do that anymore. So I mean that's a strategic thing. I don't think he got any votes that round, really.
I will say
Maybe
there were on Rachel, there were several times where she was like, "Hey, I just said in the group chat that I was in the main chat that I'm sleeping, but like, what's the plan?" Like we would like plan from there. There were at least like two or three times that happened during the season. So like she and I were, I would say for me, Caleb and I would talk about names with ourselves and then try to push it on, not push it on people, but like push the name, potentially push the name, see what the vibe would be. I would say during live night, that kind of switched for me, and like me and Rachel were just like, we basically knew what the plan was going to be, um, of like what the order we would want to be in the finals. Yeah, that honestly, it's like it's weird the way I see it because it's like there's like pre-merge, there's post-merge, and then there's like live night on. Like because I feel like it was an
Yeah.
entirely different game. Like would you say Max and Megan like that was a completely different like chapter essentially?
Like
Yeah.
besides,
I mean, at least for me,
yeah,
I totally switched the way I played the game from Live Night on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's common. You have like the early merge and then the end game. It's kind of like two different portions.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's why oh sorry, go ahead, Megan.
I was just gonna say I do think Rachel picked it up after the early merge once it hit mid-merge live night. From your vote Landon on, I think she picked it up in terms of being more upfront strategically. And again, probably because early merge, if you said shit, you got fucked. But for me, she didn't really say a lot of names to me. But again, that's because like I had my thing on the side with Crispy, Caleb, Trevor, and she had her thing with Caleb, Trevor, and then me, her, and Crispy would come together and go, so you talked about this with Caleb and Trevor? Yeah, we agree. So that's kind of how our dynamic was. It was never all of us together. It was those two groups and then a third group that came together and agreed with what they determined.
Right. And just to speak more on like the post live night thing. So I would say like Rachel was probably like it was I would say probably 50-50 between me and her, like from live night on of like we agreed, okay, let's just take Caleb out because Caleb's kind of sketch. I don't know what's going on with him and Max, like because we want to break that up. Because like the plan, Max, I don't know if you know, I don't know if Caleb probably told you this, but the plan was we were gonna do Crispy at 7 and then Max at 6 because like if
yeah,
Max gets past 5, like Max is good at these comps and Max can just win out. And at that time we didn't know it was a final two either. So when Caleb after Crispy went home messaged me, Max is not going, I'm not voting Max. I was like, oh, okay, so we're just gonna vote you then. That's neat. So like it was
oh,
kind of like that. Rachel and I did the whole immunity thing twice of Rachel on immunity, and then we acted like I won it, so that we would both be safe. And that's how we got to 3. So, and then she won out. She won the last 5 immunity challenges, like outright, and won out and took out the people that would have won Max, Megan, Trevor, back to back to back. So I agree. I don't think there was much pre live night that she really did. I feel like Caleb H's blind side really like struck a chord with her that she just needs to not do anything. Not do anything, but not say names like we are saying. But yeah, live night was just a big turning point for her in her game.
yeah, for me, I'm glad to be hearing that because I'll be honest, from my perspective, because like Rachel and I barely had like in-depth game talk. The only game I've seen for, and this, like I said, purely from my perspective. This is not me trying to be mean or disrespectful or anything, but for me, I've only every time Rachel has talked about in the conversation, it was Rachel and Trevor, Rachel and Trevor, Rachel and Trevor. Like for me, like I just want, like my jury question for her is most likely going to be. I mean, I think we already talked about it a little bit, but like I just really wanted to see what distinguishes her game from yours, if that makes sense, just based on my perception. But like I do give her a lot of props. The fact that she's also been able to make it to that point, her name never I've heard her as a target until I went out. So like that's a huge thing and it's an accomplishment for her game as well.
Yeah, the reason she told me the reason she was cutting me was because what Megan was saying. Thank you, Megan, for taking me out. And literally was like, I'm gonna go home, drop a grenade on Trevor, and I'll see him in an hour. No, but she was saying like I don't want people to take credit. I don't want people to think that you're taking credit for like the things that I did. And I was like, okay. But
Well, like Trevor,
yeah.
any of the like moves you guys made, like what were any of those like her idea? That's what I'm wondering. Like, did she come up with that on her own?
Um, it was a lot of back and forth. So like the Caleb, so there's a couple things. To vote Caleb was my idea, but she said she was thinking it, but like I was the one that pitched it because she was saying I want to vote Adam, and I was like, what if we don't vote Adam? And she was like, well, I'm not voting Megan. I was like, I mean, I'm saying vote Caleb right now. The At the last second, she did mention it was her idea for me to vote Megan at 5, which exposed that the three of them were working together. Because after Final Four Tribal, after Max went home, I was like, damn, if I did not vote Megan, you two would just been like, yeah, we voted Max with you. Like it was unanimous.
Oh yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
you completely could have just full face lied. So that move was hers. And then it was 50-50, like I said, with the immunity thing. Like I just had to act confident that I won final five and final four immunity, and she just had to act like open to doing things because to keep her safe, just in case that like she could have gone home, but she had immunity. So we both kind of did like our own things based on the immunity thing.
I give y'all props because that was amazing.
Thank you.
I will say, a strength to Rachel's strategic game, I think, in the earlier merge, is so like Rachel and I weren't working closely together until that point, but then after Caleb H got blindsided, I am pretty sure that Rachel voted Yappy at that point, and she was pissed. Like she was like, only Landon told me about it, and I didn't think it was true because it was last minute. None of them told me, they don't care about me. So she came to me and Crispy, and that's when we formed our little trio group chat that eventually merged with Trevor and Caleb R. So like that was a thing that she kind of did, was like broadening her horizons on a game stance with two people that she knew voted the same as her and were pissed off and wanted to protect each other because, you know, we didn't want to go after the people who tried to vote out Yappy. So that's something she did in the early merge, is she approached us and asked for that group chat, and we were closely together until Crispy left.
On the counter side, Max, you can attest to this. Of the group chat of me, Max, Caleb, and Rachel. After Caleb H went, Rachel said, "So is this gonna be a real group chat or is this just bullshit? I'm just gonna leave." And then no one said anything for hours. And then the next day she was like, "Okay, guys, I calmed down. Like we're good."
A side moment to yell at Caleb, Max, and Trevor for not telling Rachel like they were supposed to. Giggles.
I will say, during that call, Landon, AJ was like, "I'm gonna message Rachel." I was like, "Okay, cool. AJ's gonna message Rachel. We're good to go. We don't need to tell that." And then Rachel's like, "Why didn't you tell me? I'm so blindsided." I'm like, "Well, AJ dropped the ball here, clearly."
Oh my gosh.
I might have misheard, but I thought that AJ said she was gonna tell her, and I was like, "Okay, that's fine. She can just tell her." But yeah, that's kind of what led to me, and like that entire thing. I was like, okay, if a name comes up and Rachel's not a part of it, like she's gonna turn and she's gonna go with Megan and Crispy to the finals. So like during the Crispy vote, that's when I went to her. Caleb and I were trying to push like Crispy potentially as a name, like see what she was thinking, and she was not really having it. And then Caleb left the call to join the Zoom. I was like, Rachel, wait 2 seconds. Crispy's going home. I'm not blindsiding you again. And then that made her distrust Caleb, and that's kind of what led to that happening that night too.
I will say Rachel strategically leaked a lot of shit, but not in a way as messy as other people. Like, for example, she told me, you know, and again, this was within 10 minutes, she came to me and was like, if you don't vote Max, Crispy's gonna go. I'm voting Max. If you vote Max with me, it'll be a whatever 3-2-2 or something. I don't even know. She was basically saying like, it's gonna be Crispy if you don't vote Max. And I was like, I don't want to vote Max. I'll let Crispy go because Crispy will beat me. You know, he'll be the Trevor to my Rachel in a sense. You know what I mean? So like she would leak things strategically. I think that there were other points that I can't think of right now too. But like, oh, who was it? Oh, Yappy trying to target me at 8. She came to me immediately. So like, I think that was smart in that she didn't always get in trouble when she did leak things to people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I knew Max was coming for me during live night. Is she was like, Megan just told me that Max is coming for you. Yeah. I'm like, wait, what? I had to read that like 3 times. Of like, what are you talking about?
And I knew she did that too. Like I knew she went immediately.
Listen, I know that was stupid, but literally came down to I knew you were going to go for me at final 6. I had to take a risk.
Oh, I don't blame you. I was going all in on you, and I was like, "Oh shoot!"
I know. That's why I tried it.
I was like, "Oh shoot!" He definitely would have immunity.
speaking of all in, of course, the Final Tribal Council is going to be our opportunity to go all in on both of these finalists, and there may be some grievances, some of which that we've expressed, some pros and some cons to both Rachel's and Adam's game. Instead of either we may confront either one of the final two. This is what I'm hearing. I'm comparing notes with the jurors, confirm if this is true or not, or just reassurance that this is what I think of your game. Tell me that I'm right or tell me if I'm wrong. So this last section of the roundtable is going to be focused on just what we want to know from Rachel or Adam. Because it seems to me that you've all been receptive to either games and have been able to elaborate and articulate all of the focal points that may come up at Final Tribal Council, what things that Adam may have to overcome to be able to get your votes, and likewise with Rachel as well. What questions are we thinking of asking? Because at the end of the day, the final say comes down to you guys.
Should we go in order from Caleb to Max or Trevor?
Sure.
Up to Trevor.
So Caleb, do you know what questions you're going to be asking Rachel and or Adam?
I'm gonna ask Rachel. I don't really know. And then for Adam, I would say like, what did he have to do strategically because it was his first org ever? And like the stumbles you make when it's your first game, like what did you overcome personally? And because I mean, personally, I know Rachel for a lot of these, so it's like she kind of has, her game. She gets into it and she rides that out. So right. But like if that jump started her game, like I didn't see any game before that. So that's like what I would wanted. I was like begging for her to speak, and there was nothing. It was like, but Adam, when we were at swap before merge, was giving me stuff. He didn't even say my name. And that's a good move. Like I said, hey, if your name is out. I think it was Anthony and Adam. And I said, hey, your name is out. And he was like, thanks for telling me. And then voted me that round. And that is like the coldest thing on earth. And I think that's awesome.
Wait, so in your Adam told me, well, this could be false, but Adam told me, no, sorry, Rachel told me that Adam told Yappy that he voted Yappy that round, which would be, which I don't know if that's true. And it'd be if
Wouldn't it have
is,
been a tie though?
listen, your vote is the most confused, like the most confusing.
Right. Because it doesn't like it was. I honestly it wasn't
Anthony voted for
blindside.
Adam.
Everyone saying it's
Yeah,
blindside.
Anthony
No,
admitted
yeah.
he voted for Adam. So it was a
I
6-5
knew.
win. Yeah.
But yeah, I
He fucked
I
up.
was so confused. But I think Anthony fucked up and like but Adam like I think Adam played a really strong game for it being his first org. So I think we should put that into perspective of like he came in and played with some like really solid players and is sitting in the final too.
I agree. And I also think like to that point, especially in comparison to, I mean, obviously I'm new to this community, so I don't know Rachel that well, but it sounds like she's very present here. And I feel like for Rachel knowing as many people and being around in so many orgs, I don't feel like Rachel really, I mean, honestly, like I just don't feel like Rachel played the game like that hard. I guess she won immunities in the end and like did stuff, but I don't like my question for Rachel would be like, I think when it comes down to like Rachel and Trevor, the problem I have is Rachel bringing up this argument of like, oh, Trevor's getting the credit because he's a man. And like, that's a thing that happens a lot. But I don't think it's what's going on with Rachel and Trevor. I think the reason that Trevor got credit for stuff is because Trevor is the one that talked to people. Like Trevor was very outgoing, did a lot of calls. Trevor he was very like out there. Whereas Rachel, I feel like literally talked to like 3 people and that was it. Like, so Rachel never really got credit for anything because she never at least made it known to anyone that she was doing anything. And maybe that was intentional, but it didn't feel like it was. Like it felt like she just had her people and stuck to that. So I guess I would ask her like why she just like one thing like is Megan literally mentioned in that whole like Caleb H vote. I was the only person that told the brain hat. I was the only person that told Rachel that it was Caleb H going. And after that, Rachel like still didn't give me the time of day. Like you would think that would show that I had some kind of like trust in Rachel and wanted to work because I didn't include Adam in that vote and I wanted to include Adam, but I didn't. But I still included Rachel. But instead she went to like Megan and Crispy, which not saying that she shouldn't have trusted Megan and Crispy, but I don't understand why she wrote off the possibility of working with people that she didn't know. Like, and just never really seemed to try. Even on our original tribe way back when in the day, like she only talked to like Trevor and Caleb, and that was pretty much it. And then everyone else on my tribe had the same experience of her not talking to them. And it makes me feel like she got very lucky that she won the first, like, every pre-merge immunity challenge that mattered, basically, and was able to get into a spot where everyone else was already fighting in the merge. But I don't know. That's my like opinion on her.
Move on to Max.
For me with Adam, I mean, my thing is if multiple people are saying they would have taken him to the end because they think they can beat him, then that's a bit of a concern. But like so for me on that end, I want him to really, really elaborate on every single thing he did like in this game. Because I want all those people for him. I want him to argue why all those people are wrong, like why we should not have underestimated him, why he is this really like really this power player that does deserve to win. Because I know he has it in him. Because like it's just going to come down to how he can articulate himself at the end for me, like and be able. My question for him is, these are the perceptions that I've heard about your game. Now, please prove these perceptions of why we underestimated you and why you're the rightful winner, if that makes sense. Like, I hope I worded that right. I'm not good with my words, but that's kind of where I'm at. But and then with Rachel, like I said earlier, from my view, I do not. From the game, our game relationship is very surface level. What I see from her game is pretty much everything. I've only every single time I've talked to Rachel's been like Rachel and Trevor, Rachel and Trevor. So I just really hope from her I can get an answer where like that really distinguishes her from Trevor. Like even if that wasn't true, I just need her to prove that to me, if that makes sense.
Move on to Megan.
Yeah. So I guess I have to ask some questions now because before I left, I said I was gonna have nothing to say to them. I was just gonna vote for Trevor, but sorry, Trevor. I was trying to not see you win another fucking game. I wanted them to vote you out at 3 so bad, just because I didn't want you to win again. I love you though. For Rachel, I think, in my opinion, I think she excelled more strategically and failed a little bit more socially, overall, because I mean, people have said that she didn't talk to them much. Trevor said she'll pretend like she's sleeping and talk to me. She told me on numerous occasions, I don't want to talk to these people. I don't feel like calling with them, you know? So I guess my question would be somewhere in the realm of like, is there a particular reason? Yes, we know you travel a lot. Yes, we know your work schedule sucks when you're working and people get busy. But like outside of that, what was the reason why you decided like it's too much of a burden on you to talk to other people? Because if it was lacking that much, there were people who are saying like she barely talked to me. That's a concern. And for I guess for doing both for Adam, I guess this would be kind of a question for both of them too. Because I play very under the radar. I don't like to be out in front. I don't like to be the Trevor or the Caleb H or Caleb R or the Landon. I guess Caleb H too. You would have gotten this also because you're a big player. But like I don't like to be painted as the person who is in charge of things. And so for them both kind of playing that same way that I like to play, I want to ask them not why, like what things they did, but I want to know why they didn't do things. Because I think it is smart strategically to not do things. So for both of them, I do want to hear them explain more. Like we can assume, oh, they didn't want to throw names because they're afraid of getting in trouble. But I want to hear from them like why they chose at certain points not to do things and why they think it was smarter than trying to do something. Because I think there's a lot of merit to gameplay like that. Because I'm a game bot.
For the record, Trevor doesn't like being known as the person in charge from Final 12 on.
I know.
Had a very difficult time once Caleb H said Trevor and AJ running the game. I was like, I'm trying to get AJ out like next round, Caleb. So
yeah, you were doing a good job hiding behind Landon until that point.
Yeah, I was. And I was like, I want to snipe him right now. I want to snipe them right now. But so my questions, my main question for Rachel will be, when was the final two bullshit? Was it in like on night 3 when we called? Was it after Final Five when you said, "I swear I will never write your name down the rest of the game"? Was it when you won immunity and you had the chance to take Adam? I just want to know like when exactly she knew she was going to turn on me, just for my own reasons of understanding of how her gameplay was. But yeah, that would be something for me for Rachel. Um, and I think talking to you guys, it makes sense of like after between Caleb H going and Live Night, like what there's a gap there that I'm missing because I at that point honestly like I just saw her as like Caleb R and I would talk to Megan and Crispy and be like, all right, as long as Rachel's good with the four of us, like that's five. So I'd want to know like what was she doing? Was she intentionally not saying names and just holding off for the time? Or what? But that could be brought up during other questions and such. For Adam, my biggest problem with Adam is I don't know. It's hard because usually the person I would vote for as a juror is the person that had the most control in the game, and it's hard because I don't know at what point Adam had any control of the game. At any point, I feel like honestly, I feel like the biggest point that he could have had control was at the final four, and he voted out Megan. And I was confused when he got on call with me and said, "Hey, I don't want fire to happen, so I'm voting Megan." And I was like, "I'm not going to explain how that doesn't make sense. Let's just vote Megan. Sounds good." So like my question is just gonna be, yeah, I was like, all right, she's gone, bro. She's gone. So I think that's just gonna be my question of like, was there a point in the game where you feel like you had a control of your own destiny, or was it um you showed enough trust with people that you were able to always have numbers on your side, and you didn't necessarily have to do anything, but like again, kind of like Rachel, was it on purpose or was just dumb luck?
With that being said, that concludes our roundtable. I do want to wrap this up. Just try to wrap this all up. Of course, Final Tribal Council is going to be the platform to which we all will be able to have the answers to these questions, and we're finally going to have at least some closure. We may not get all of the answers, and ultimately, it's up to Adam and Rachel to articulate these points and to convince you all, as the jury, to reward them to be the winner of Distortion Survivor. I do want to say thank you so much for this intuitive, very informative conversation. We were all civil. We were all very respectful. We were all engaged with one another, and we clearly all have a passion for this game. And to see that, as a host and as a former alum, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to hear all of you guys' strategic inputs and reflecting on the game. Civil, yes, civil. That's the word I use. You didn't like curse each other out. So like, I mean, best roundtable I've been a part of.
We can start.
That will start after this.
I didn't even see Trevor saying "fuck Megan" before I typed "fuck Trevor." I just like wanted to say that.
On that note,
you, Trevor.
On that note, we're close on time here because my season already premiered. But on that note, thank you all so much for having me. It's been a pleasure again. I can't express how much I loved watching this season unfold. Obviously, hearing from Seb, what's going on, who's doing well, what just happened, what's going on in the game. I'm a live feeder for Survivor, essentially, is what this was. So it has been amazing. Not Anthony joining now.
Sorry, I just got off work and then my partner picked me up and he's like, we got to go to Costco. So I'm sitting in the car.
Hi, Anthony.
Anthony, you could have deposited.
Anthony, do you have any thoughts quickly?
Quick.
Thoughts.
I have thoughts quickly. I don't know. No, I have no thoughts.
Well, Anthony will have plenty of time from now up until Final Tribal Council on Sunday to gather those thoughts. And so do all the other jurors who unfortunately were not able to make it. Some were not feeling all up to it. The time zone or the time that we all decided on wasn't complimentary or available for them. So moment in silence for those jurors. Moment done. Again, thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I'm gonna pass the mic over to Seb. I'm gonna hop off, but hope to see you guys support Spellbound Survivor. I'm going to shamelessly promote it because there's totally not somebody on this call who just got revealed for that cast. So,
Which one of you
that?
hoes lied about retiring? Just kidding.
Oh, it wasn't me. I didn't lie about retiring.
Who just got revealed?
I
I'm
just
running
checked
to
the V. Are you? I just checked the VL.
Who is
I
it?
saw it's. I saw it's. There's an Anthony. I don't know. I was like, I don't know if it's
Oh.
the same Anthony or not.
Yeah.
Let's go, Anthony.
Oh, okay.
Yay! Good luck.
Good luck,
But
Anthony.
I never said that I was retiring, so you weren't referring to me.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Jacob, for doing the Lord's work here and dealing with these rascals. You are free to go if you want.
Love you, Jacob.
But thank you to the jurors here. And thank you to anyone who's watching postseason. Jurors, stay